Okay, welcome everyone to today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's again by Hari Parshad Prabhu. He will be doing part 2 of the Damodara Lila. For those of you who are new or who might be watching later on YouTube, Hari Parshad Prabhu, of course, is a very beloved and learned teacher who's in demand all over the world for his sweet and very deep classes on Krishna consciousness. He actually learned Sanskrit while he was in school, and therefore, he can read Sanskrit and understand it the way we look at English, for example. And he's a core member of the Shastrik or Scriptural Advisory Committee, and is very much in demand for answering scriptural questions of a very esoteric nature. And he's a disciple of Srila Radha Govinda Maharaj, whose Bhagavatam classes are world renowned. He mostly speaks in Hindi, but there are some English classes. But his classes are sweetness personified. And Hari Parshad Prabhu certainly follows in his divine guru's footsteps in his own Bhagavad Katha. So without any further ado, Hari Parshad Prabhu, the floor is yours.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Yashoda Prabhu, for kindly introducing me. But, I think you're not happy with me because yesterday you said that I'm your friend, but today you didn't say. So if there was any mistake yesterday, please forgive me that you didn't include the fact that I'm your friend in the introduction. That's the most important part. That Yashoda Prabhu and me are very good friends, very dear friends. And it is his kind invitation. Actually, he was the one who called me here, invited me to speak something on Damodara Lila on this wonderful occasion of Kartik. And I'm very thankful to him, to all the organizers at Bhakti Center, and to all the devotees who are attending here. So thank you so much for being present here today. Our standard practice is to begin with Mangalacharan, our auspicious invocations. So we will begin with Mangalacharan auspicious invocations. Most of us already know these verses, so you can kindly sing along with me. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Soyam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guram Shri Yutapadakavalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sadrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalitam Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namah Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Nidhi Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Preva Pradayade Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishay Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namustate तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Thank you, Premanande Hare. So, dear devotees, thank you once again for kindly being here today. Thank you for giving me the most important resource of your life, that is your time. See, in this world, one of the most scarce resources that we have today is time. And people who are rich with money are often very poor with time. Everybody is suffering from time poverty. But still, you took out some time for attending this particular talk and for hearing what I have to say. And for that, I am very thankful to all of you, because all of us are suffering from time poverty, but still you have taken out some time and kindly you're attending this particular talk. So thank you very much once again, dear devotees. Today we are continuing Damodara Lila, but it's also our Bhagavatam class, morning Bhagavatam class. So we will continue our reading of Srimad Bhagavatam. And today we have to continue from 9th canto, 18th chapter, verse 28. The verse is displayed in front of us. I will read the verse, the synonyms, the translation. And this particular verse doesn't have a purport. So we'll go to the next verse, which has a purport. And then we'll resume our Damodar Lila. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th canto, chapter 18, verse 28. Tathetyavasthite praha devayani manogatam pitra dattayato yasya sanugayatu mamanu. Synonyms. Tatha iti, when King Vrashaparva agreed to Shukracharya's proposal. Avasthite, the situation being settled in this way. Praha said, Devayani, the daughter of Shukracharya. Manogatam, her desire. Pitra, by the father. Datta, given. Yata, to whomever. Yasya, I shall go. Sa anuga, with her friends. Yatu, shall go. Ma'amanu, as my follower or servant. Translation by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. After hearing Shukracharya's request, Vrishabharva agreed to fulfill Devyani's desire, and he awaited her words. Devyani then expressed her desire as follows. Whenever I marry by the order of my father, my friend Sharmishtha must go with me as my maidservant along with her friends. Since there's no purport, we'll go to the next verse. Verse 29. Pitra datta devayanyai sharmishtha sanugatadam swanam tat sankatam vikshya tadarthasya cha gauravam devayanim paryacharat sri sahasrena dasavat. Translation. Vrishabharva wisely thought that Shukracharya's displeasure would bring danger and that his pleasure would bring material gain. Therefore, he carried out Shukracharya's order and served him like a slave. He gave his daughter Sharmishtha to Devayani, and Sharmishtha served Devayani like a slave along with thousands of other women. Purport. In the beginning of these affairs concerning Sharmishtha and Devayani, we saw that Sharmishtha had many friends. Now, these friends became maid servants of Devayani. When a girl is married, a Kshatriya king, it was customary for all her girlfriends to go with her to her husband's house. For instance, when Vasudeva married Devaki, the mother of Krishna, he married all 6 of her sisters, and she also had many friends who accompanied her. A king would maintain not only his wife but also the many friends and maidservants of his wife. Some of these maidservants would become pregnant and give birth to children. Such children were accepted as Dasi Putra, the sons of the maidservants, and the king would maintain them. The female population is always greater than the male, but since a woman needs to be protected by a man, the king would maintain many girls who acted either as friends or as maidservants of the queen. In the history of Krishna's household life, we find that Krishna married 16,108 wives. These were not maidservants but direct queens, and Krishna expanded himself into 16,108 forms to maintain different establishments for each and every one. This is not possible for ordinary men. Therefore, although the kings had to maintain many servants and wives, not all of them had different establishments. End of purport. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. So very quickly, I'll explain what's going on in this particular section of the Bhagavatam. See, there is the narration of King Yayati. Yayati is the descendant of King Nahusha. Nahusha has been cursed to become a python, a Ajgar. So Nahusha becomes a python, but his grandson Yayati, he takes over the kingdom. And Yayati, he becomes attracted to two ladies. One is Devayani, who is the daughter of Shukracharya, and another is Sharmishtha, who is the daughter of Vrishaparva. Now, Shukracharya wants that his daughter should be the queen, and Sharmishtha should serve her like a maid servant. And that is the condition which is being put here. Because if Shukracharya's conditions are not met, he will become very angry. And if he curses, then there will be a big problem for Vrishaparva. So Vrishaparva agrees, and Vrishaparva's daughter Sharmishtha becomes a maid servant. So although Srila Prabhupada has used the term slave here in the translation and purport, one should understand that there is a big difference in the terms das and slave. Please, we have to understand some difference between these two terms. We are all das. We are all Krishna's das. That is the term used in Sanskrit here. So we are all das. But we are not slaves of Krishna. Although das is sometimes translated as slave. But there is a big difference between the term das and slave. Formerly in India, there was a system known as das pratha or dasi pratha, or the system of keeping maid servants. Now these maid servants would be considered a part of the family itself. So they were treated as family members. And what we hear of the exploitation of slaves, that is selling slaves, purchasing slaves, treating them very badly, or abusing them physically or verbally, these things were not a part of traditional Vedic culture. So they would stay at home as family members, they would be treated very nicely, but they would help in the household affairs. So therefore, there is a big difference between the term das and slave. Because as soon as we hear the term slave, it has a very negative connotation associated with it, because the history of slavery is extremely violent and extremely disgusting in many ways. But so that we do not confuse the modern system of slavery with the ancient das pratha, therefore I have to make it very clear that in traditional India, those of us who have stayed in India and who have seen our grandparents or great-grandparents, we have seen that those who were servants of the home, they were not treated badly as slaves. So therefore, there is a big difference between these two systems. So although Sharmishtha has become a maid servant, she will be treated as a family member, although she occupies a lower position in the family, but she will not be abused, mistreated in any way whatsoever. She will stay as a member of the family. The only reason for Sharmishtha to be made a maid servant is because Shukracharya wanted that his daughter should be the queen. So that was the only reason why this condition was kept. So anyways, speaking of maid servants, we were discussing yesterday, Mother Yashoda had many maid servants at home. All of them were busy because Mother Yashoda was personally churning yogurt. And we saw the entire pastime where Mother Yashoda was personally breastfeeding Krishna. And suddenly the milk started boiling. And we had Acharya saying that the milk had committed suicide. And once Yashoda went inside and she was trying to take care of the milk, meanwhile Krishna became very angry. And once Krishna became angry, Krishna came back. Krishna was sitting there and Krishna broke the pots. And after Krishna broke the pots, there was yogurt all over the place. So what happened next, we will try to discuss today. So let's move ahead, dear devotees, in our Damodara Lila. I hope all of you can see the slide on your screen. Let's move ahead to the next slide. This is when Mother Yashoda comes back. So we can see Mother Yashoda, she has come back, and Prabhupada describes in the Krishna book. Prabhupada says, in the meantime, Mother Yashoda returned to the churning place after setting the overflowing milk pan in order. She saw the broken pot in which the churning yogurt had been kept. Since she could not find her boy, she concluded that the broken pot was his work. She smiled. So very simple. The last sentence is, she smiled. And a simple smile of Yashoda has many meanings hidden within it. See, the sweetest part of Krishna Lila is the churning that the various acharyas have done. So for every small event that occurs, Sri Hari Suri, whom I introduced yesterday, he has written realizations for every small reason in Krishna Lila. So Sri Hari Suri says, why did Mother Yashoda smile at that point of time? And he wants to explain the beautiful reason behind Mother Yashoda smiling. So he gives a beautiful reason there, and this reason is in front of us in the form of a verse. So this is the verse composed by him. I will recite this verse and then I will explain the verse. Sri Hari Suri says, Nirarthakam dukkham idam prayati iti asansayatra hamibhavanesya tatodhiko bhudvyaya esha chitram alakshya sadaiva gatim jahasa. So Sri Hari Suri says, Mother Yashoda was saying, Nirarthakam dukkham idam prayati. So Yashoda was thinking, this milk inside was boiling, and I was thinking it is uselessly getting wasted, because if it boils over, it will be wasted. So what did I do? Yashoda was thinking, Asam sayatna. I put some effort, eva avane asya, to save this milk. But what was the result? In trying to save some quantity of milk, my son has spilled much more quantity of milk products here outside in the courtyard. So I went to save some milk, and the end result was that I lost much more quantity of milk. And for this reason, Yashoda, due to seeing that Daivagatim, due to seeing the strange ways of providence, she started smiling. Jahasa, he started smiling. So this is the translation. I thought that the milk was boiling over and took efforts to save it. However, the end result is that I lost much more milk in the process. Thinking like this, Mother Yashoda laughed at the arrangement of providence. So very sweet realization. See, he has entered into the mind of Yashoda. He has found out the reasons behind her smiling and laughing. What happened next is being described. Our Bhagavan Shri Krishna has become the original Robin Hood. Dear devotees, some of you might have heard of Robin Hood. That personality who's popular in classical English literature for stealing from the rich and distributing it among the poor. But that Robin Hood must not be aware that 5,000 years ago, there was an original Robin Hood. And there was a big difference between the classical English literature Robin Hood and our 5,000-year-old Krishna, who is the original Robin Hood. The difference is that the Robin Hood described in English literature never stole from his own home. But our Bhagavan Shri Krishna firmly believes that charity begins at home. So the first place that he began his stealing from is his own home. So here you can see our original Robin Hood, who is stealing from his own home and distributing it to the poor monkeys. And you can see Mother Yashoda in the background. She is seeing Krishna doing all these activities. At this point of time, Sri Hari Suri says that Krishna was thinking, in my past incarnation as Ram, I took so much service from these monkeys, but I did not pay them back anything. So at least I should feed them from my own hands. And for this reason, Krishna gave them some form of charity in the form of feeding them water. The translation in Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, Krishna at that time was sitting on an upside down wooden mortar for grinding spices and was distributing milk preparations such as yogurt and butter to the monkeys as he liked. Because of having stolen, he was looking around with great anxiety. Please note, dear devotees, he was looking around with great anxiety. For the first time, dear devotees, somebody has put Bhagavan into anxiety. And I'm very happy. I'm very happy today that finally somebody managed to put him in anxiety. And you know why I'm happy? I'm very happy because for millions of lives, I have been put in anxiety and he has done nothing about it. He's smiling in Goloka. He's having a great time in Goloka. And since millions of lifetimes, I am in anxiety. But today he is in anxiety and I will smile. Very nicely, I will smile. Because Krishna, finally you got a taste of your own bitter medicine. You know how it feels now to experience anxiety in this world. And you deserve it very well. You deserve it very, very well. And all glories to Mother Yashoda for putting you in that anxiety. Big demons could not put you in anxiety. You happily fought with big demons, but in Vrindavan, all your supreme personality of Godhead features are removed from your personality and you have to become anxious like an ordinary child. Very nice. All glories to Mother Yashoda. Today, when I show the lamp, I will show the lamp more to Mother Yashoda because she is my deity. Actually, my deity of Kartik, more than Damodar, is Yashoda. Why? Because the Acharyas say that Krishna is he to whom everybody prays for liberation. But today Krishna will pray for his own liberation to Mother Yashoda. So the greater deity is Mother Yashoda. So anyways, let's continue. He was looking around with great anxiety, suspecting that he might be chastised by his mother. Mother Yashoda, upon seeing him, very cautiously approached him from behind. Srila Jiva Goswami says here, and note very carefully, Srila Jiva Goswami says that the person who catches a thief has only 2 eyes, but the thief has thousands of eyes. Dear devotees, the thief has thousands of eyes. And in the case of our thief, this is actually a fact because he says Sahasra Shirsha Purushaha. He has thousands of heads and thousands of eyes. It is described in Shastra. So not only does this thief has literally thousands of eyes in all the directions. So he noticed Mother Yashoda coming. And then this is what happened. He immediately ran. Prabhupada describes in the Krishna book, he immediately got down from the grinding water and began to flee in fear. Mother Yashoda chased him to all corners, trying to capture the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Prabhupada explains a paradox here. Who is never approached even by the expert meditations of the great yogis. See, great yogis try to run behind him for lifetimes, but he never shows them even a glimpse of himself. And now Mother Yashoda is making him run away in fear. Mother Yashoda is chasing him. Please try to understand. There's a difference between catching someone and chasing someone. When you want to catch someone, you're favorable towards them. And when you want to chase someone, you are unfavorable towards them. So the yogis are very favorable towards Krishna. And they want to catch him. Yet he is never in their grasp. And Mother Yashoda wants to chase him. And she wants to catch him also. But she wants to chase him today. And still he is so afraid of Mother Yashoda. Prabhupada describes, in other words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna was never caught by the yogis and speculators, was playing just like a little child for such a great devotee as Mother Yashoda. So beautiful imagery here being drawn. Of course, our acharyas will never hesitate to point out realizations. Sri Hariswari says, please note one point very importantly, dear devotees. Shlishyadrosham mano yavat tavad ishah paramukha Please try to understand. Hari Suri says, Shlishyad Rosham Manaha. Manaha means the mind. Shlishyad means sticking. Rosham means anger or negativity towards Krishna. So as long as a little bit of unfavorability, as long as a little bit of anger towards Krishna is there in our mind, Tavad Ishaha Paramukha, till that time Krishna will never look in our direction. Just see, dear devotees, Krishna, is he looking in the direction of Mother Yashoda? Look at the image and tell me, is he looking in the direction of Mother Yashoda? Obviously no. So Sri Hari Suri says, just as Mother Yashoda had anger in her mind and Krishna never looked at her, similarly, if we also have some anger against Bhagwan in our minds, some grudge against Bhagwan in our minds, he will never look in our direction. Please note, dear devotees. This is a very important lesson for all the sadhakas. So as long as even a tiny amount of anger towards the Supreme Lord is remaining in one's mind, the Supreme Lord keeps his face turned away from that person. A very important instruction here. Always be favorable towards Krishna. Never have any anger against Bhagwan. Why did Krishna do this to me? Why did Krishna take this away? Why did Krishna take that away? Dear devotees, Krishna took away the 5 sons of the Pandavas. Yet none of the Pandavas questioned Krishna as to why you have done that. That very same Krishna saved the grandson of Pandavas, Parikshit Maharaj. So we do not know what is Krishna's plan. Therefore, it is in our best interest to never express any negativity or anger against Krishna. So once again, moving ahead, what happened? Srila Jiva Goswami says that as long as Krishna did not look in Mother Yashoda's direction, he was comfortably far away from her. But suddenly Krishna thought, let me check how far she is. So Krishna looked behind once, and once he looked behind, he looked into her eyes. And as soon as Krishna saw her eyes, he froze. And when Krishna froze, Mother Yashoda got the opportunity to catch up to him and she held his hand. And as soon as Mother Yashoda held his hand, this is what happened. Please read this, dear devotees. Mother Yashoda, however, could not easily catch the fast-running child because of her thin waist and heavy body. Still, she tried to follow him as fast as possible. Her hair loosened and the flowers in her hair fell to the ground. Although she was tired, she somehow reached her naughty child and captured him. Now, please note, dear devotees, when he was caught, Krishna was almost on the point of crying. At this point of time, Sri Hari Suri says, crying is the only strength of small children. Please note, the only strength of a small child is crying. Next, Prabhupada says, he smeared his hands over with his eyes, which were anointed with black eye cosmetics. The child saw his mother's face while she stood over him, and his eyes became restless from fear. So I'll explain very briefly what happened. Mother Yashoda caught Krishna, and immediately all the tears came to Krishna's rescue. All Krishna's eyes were filled with tears because Balanam Rodanam Balam, it is said that children have only one strength. And what is that strength? Crying loudly. Now, please note, if there is a big assembly of devotees, and if somewhere one child starts crying loudly, can the lecture go on peacefully? No. Immediately the speaker said, please, whosoever's Mataji's, whosoever's child this is, please take care of your child. It's a big disturbance in the class. You see, one child has the capability of spoiling the mood of the entire class. How is it possible? Balanam Rodanam Balam. They have only one strength, crying out loudly. So Krishna also expressed his complete strength by crying out loudly. But there is a big loss in crying out. What happened is that as soon as he cried out, there was this mascara on his eyes. So that mascara started spreading. And nowadays we have anti-smudge. But in those days, they used to make traditional mascara, which was very smudgy. So traditional mascara was very cooling, no chemicals, and very smudgy. So it started spreading all over his eyes. So Krishna realized now there is another problem here. What is the problem here? This mascara will spread and then it will dry out. And then on my face, there will be these mascara marks, these kajal marks. And then all my friends, they will laugh at me. They will say, Krishna, you were beaten today. We are very happy. And finally, the day has come. So many days you were troubling us. You used to come to our home and you used to steal so much. Nobody had beaten you. But today, these eyes are proof you were beaten by Mother Yashoda. Tell us the truth, Krishna. You were beaten today, right? Very nice. We enjoyed it. You deserved it completely, Krishna. And even Balram didn't come to save you because he is with us. He also wanted that you should get a good treatment someday. So, in this way, Krishna thought, oh my goodness, my reputation will be spoiled in the three worlds. So, what did Krishna do? Krishna used his own hands to rub away all the mascara from his eyes. So, instead of the mascara going away, it became even more spread out. So, that is what Krishna is. He tried to make himself look beautiful by rubbing away the mascara. Instead, the mascara rubbed more into his face. And it's all over his face now. And that's what we celebrate in this family. His face, which is smeared with mascara, and it is smeared by using his own hands. Karam bhoja yugmena, satanka netram. Is very afraid in his eyes. And we are very happy. All glories to Mother Yashoda for putting him in fear. It's very important that he should get a taste of his own medicine. All the living entities are suffering from fear in the material world since so many lifetimes. And who will show him what is the taste of fear? Only his own mother can show him. And you were glorified in Shastra, Ugram, Viram, Mahavishnum, Jwalantam Sarvato Mukham. You are glorified. Ugram. Yashoda Dulal Prabhu, Ugram means fierce. Please look at this image and tell me, is he Ugram or Anugram? How does he appear? He appears Anugram. Viram, very brave. Does he appear Viram or Aviram? Is Aviram. Mahavishnu, the great Vishnu. Is he Mahavishnu or Laghu Vishnu, the small Vishnu? Is Laghu Vishnu? All his characteristics have been reversed by one stick of Mother Yashoda. That is what was needed. We were waiting for lifetimes to see this. Therefore, Satyavrat Muni says, may this scene always stay in my heart. May this sada me manasya virastam. Kimanyai, what more do I want? I want this particular frame, I want frozen in my heart. At the moment of my death, I want to glance at this. This is the perfection of my life. Very sweet, dear devotees. Very sweet. But we have to add more sweetness. We are not happy with the level of sweetness that has been achieved till now. Add more sweetness. So we invite Sri Harisuri. Harisuri says, please, there is a big reason why Krishna is rubbing his eyes. Please note, dear devotees, there's a big esoteric secret here. Why Krishna is rubbing his eyes. And he composes a beautiful verse. Madan vavaya dimayor himanimo sayo kalankam mama chakshi upayahu katham sahenan vitirodana chala tadanjanam shalayati smapanina. He says, Harisuri says, Krishna was thinking, Mad anvavaya adimayor himahimus. Krishna was thinking, I take birth in two important lineages. We have been reading 9th canto. And there are two lineages in which Krishna takes birth. The solar lineage and the lunar lineage. We know the sun dynasty and the moon dynasty he takes birth in. And the Bhagavad Gita says, Shashi Surya Netram. One of Krishna's eye is the sun. One of Krishna's eyes is the moon. So Krishna's eyes are the sun and the moon. And Krishna was thinking, Kalankam mama chakshiru payahu. And the dark spots of bad reputation are spreading on these two personalities who are the founding fathers of the two dynasties in which I appear. So Krishna says, Katham sahe, how will I tolerate that these two personalities who are the founding fathers of the two great dynasties in which I appear, my original forefathers, how should the ill reputation, the spots, the blemishes of ill repute spread on them? It is not possible. I will rub them away with my own hands. For in order to protect his own ancestors, Krishna started rubbing his own eyes with his two hands. This is the reason behind Krishna rubbing his eyes. This is the translation. These two eyes of mine are the sun and the moon, the founders of my own two family lineages. However, their reputation is now tarnished due to my crying and the kajal or the mascara spreading everywhere around them. Now, how can I tolerate their reputation being tarnished like this? Thinking in this way, the Supreme Lord rubbed his eyes using his hands. Very sweet realization. Dear devotees, Sri Hariswari says Krishna's eyes were very distressed, and these distressed eyes say a lot. Why was Krishna distressed in his eyes? So Sri Hariswari says, Tava vidhanam shadari prabhanjakam Huviti sadbhir yadaham prakirtitah Mai sthite dveshini rosha sambhavah Katham jananyam titadrishakshanah. Krishna was thinking, why was Krishna worried? Why was worry showing up on Krishna's eyes? Because Krishna was thinking, Harisuri says, Tava vidhanam shadari prabhanjakam. All the sadhus, these Hare Krishnas, wherever they go, they sing the glories of my name. You know what glories they say? If you chant Krishna's names, 6 enemies will be driven away. Now, Yashoda Prabhu, do you know what are the 6 enemies? Can you please tell me what are the 6 enemies?
Anger, greed, lust, illusion, madness, and I forgot
Avarice.
the 6th.
Avarice.
Sorry? Avarice,
Avarice.
greed. Yeah, thank you.
So, lust, anger, etc. These 6 enemies, they are immediately driven away by chanting Krishna's names. Yashoda Prabhu also agrees. He also has been, like a sadhu, he has been preaching this for so many years of his life. Krishna was thinking, now all these sadhus, they are proclaiming the glories of my name. And they say that by chanting my name, lust, anger, greed goes away. Now just see the irony. Forget about my name. I am myself present here. And still Mother Yashoda has anger in her. Which means in my personal presence, her anger did not go away. Now my reputation is going to get spoiled. Therefore, Krishna was very afraid, and this worry showed in his eyes that my reputation is now going to get spoiled. That even though I am present, still Mother Yashoda has anger within. This is the translation. The sadhus say to me, your name alone is the destroyer of 6 enemies such as anger, greed, etc. How is it that in my personal presence, anger is still remaining in my mother? The distressed eyes of the Lord indicated this fact. So this is why Krishna was very afraid, because his reputation was at stake at this point of time. At that point of time, Prabhupada describes in the Krishna book, Mother Yashoda could understand that Krishna was unnecessarily afraid, and for his benefit, she wanted to allay his fears. Being the topmost well-wisher of her child, Mother Yashoda thought, if the child is too fearful of me, I don't know what will happen to him. Mother Yashoda then threw away her stick. In order to punish him, she thought to bind his hands with some ropes. Now, Srila Jiva Goswami goes into greater details. He explains why exactly did Mother Yashoda want to tie him up. So, Srila Jiva Goswami, please note this carefully. When Mother Yashoda and Krishna, she had caught Krishna, she immediately asked Krishna, please tell me who broke that pot. So Krishna is the Supreme Lord, he cannot lie. So Krishna spoke true lies. Krishna spoke at that point of time. Krishna said, that was a punishment from the Supreme Lord. That's what Krishna replied. When Mother Yashoda asked, who broke the pot? He said, that was a punishment from the Supreme Lord. Mother Yashoda said, Acha, if that was a punishment from the Supreme Lord, then tell me who was feeding the monkeys. So Krishna said, he who has created the monkeys is responsible for feeding the monkeys. So in this way, Krishna
You might have gotten frozen, Hari Parshad Prabhu.
Please tell me the truth. Krishna became very angry. When Mother Yashoda said, "You are the leader of all the thieves," Krishna became very angry. And Krishna said, "Thieves must be born in your father's family, not in my father's family." Krishna said, Krishna was very angry at that point of time. Mother Yashoda said, "You are like a monkey. Your activities are like a monkey. You're feeding the monkeys. You're staying with the monkeys." Krishna also did not back out. Krishna said, "If that is the case, then I will go and stay in the forest with the monkeys. If that is what you want, I'll go in the forest and stay with the monkeys." So see, even after so much threats, the Supreme Personality of Godhead doesn't want to budge from. He's so adamant. This we call this a spoiled child, spoiled brat. In modern context, this is known as a spoiled brat. So such a spoiled brat that he is saying, he's threatening his mother, saying that, if you say that I am staying with the monkeys, then I'll go and stay with the monkeys. I don't want to stay with you. He's threatening his own mother. At that point, Mother Yashoda thought, now I have so many things to do at home. If I go away and this boy takes it seriously, then he will actually run away into the forest. So better let me tie him up. So therefore she decided that I will tie him up to some particular heavy object so that he doesn't run away. That's the reason behind Mother Yashoda deciding to tie him. So Sri Hari Suri says, this entire pastime has taken place from Mother Yashoda refusing Krishna to the point that Mother Yashoda was running behind Krishna and caught him. This entire pastime has one lesson for us. Please note. Madiyam santosham sukhaladam asampādyamanujo yadi kshudre kinchit phalinidena kariman yadirata Bhavitri tasyartha kshatirapi cha sthitiraha Purarmadgani chit pratipadamaham tasya sulabha. Sri Hari Suri says Krishna wants to convey a very important message through this entire pastime. Madiyam santosham. Everybody should satisfy me, Krishna, including Yashoda. Sukhaladam, that satisfaction will be very nice. But asampādyamanujo. But humans don't satisfy me. Just like Yashoda didn't satisfy me. And what do? Yadi kshudre kinchit phalini. They go and do some ordinary work in the day and they try to earn their bread and butter. And they give me up and they carry out their small day-to-day activities, considering it very important. Instead of satisfying me, they give me up and they consider their office to be very important. The jobs to be very important, their so-called maintenance to be very important. Why? Because I have to earn money, because I have to earn a lot of wealth. So Sri Hari Suri says, Bhavitri tasyartha kshatirapi. The result is that just as Yashoda tried to save some quantity of milk, but she ended up losing a lot of milk. Similarly, these people who turn away from me, they try to save a little bit of money, but in the end, they end up losing their entire lives. And apicha dura sthitiraham, I also run away from them, just as I ran away from Yashoda. But there is one important thing. But if this person starts running behind me again, just like Yashoda started running behind me, Pratipadam aham tasya sulabha, then with every step that they take towards me, I become more and more accessible for them, and finally I am caught by them in this very life. Dear devotees, please note, there is a big lesson to be learned till this point of time. That just as Yashoda didn't satisfy Krishna, but wanted to save some milk, ended up losing a lot of more milk. But then she ran, and Krishna also ran away from her. But when she ran behind Krishna, I was caught by him. Similarly, ordinary people in this world, instead of satisfying Krishna, They try to satisfy their own senses and they try to carry out their own little activities. But the end result is death, and they end up losing much more than what they earned. And Krishna also stays far away from them. But if they come back in time and they start running behind Krishna, then Krishna also becomes very accessible to them. And this is the lesson through this entire pastime. So, this is the translation. If people do not work for my pleasure and instead get busy in acquiring some small material benefit, then the end result is that they suffer a greater material loss, and I too stay far away from them. However, if they start coming back to me, then I too become easily captured by them with every step that they take towards me. This is the message given by Krishna, who got caught by Mother Yashoda. Very sweet message. Anyway, so Mother Yashoda decided that she will tie Krishna up. And at this point of time, it's an impossible thing to tie up Krishna. Why? Sridhar Swami said, please note this very important realization by Sridhar Swami. Sridhar Swami says, if you want to tie something up, let's say this is my cell phone. If I want to tie this up, what do I do? The rope has to engulf it on all directions. That's how tying something is possible in this world. But how is it possible to tie up Krishna? Because the rope cannot engulf Krishna on all directions. It is Krishna who has engulfed the rope in all directions. Please try to understand. It's impossible to tie up the Lord, because instead of the rope engulfing the Lord in all directions, it is the Lord who is in all the directions of the rope. He is inside the rope, he is outside the rope. In fact, he is the rope. So, can a person be tied by his own energy? Answer is no. But still, Mother Yashoda wants to try. So, let's see what happened. Prabhupada says in the Krishna book, there is no inside or outside of him, no beginning nor end. He is unlimited and all-pervading. Indeed, he is himself the entire cosmic manifestation. Prabhupada is making this point to make it clear that he is also the rope. You can't tie someone with himself. Still, Mother Yashoda was thinking of Krishna as her child. Although he is beyond the reach of all senses, she endeavored to bind him to a wooden grinding mortar. But when she tried to bind him, she found that the rope she was using was too short, by 2 inches. Now, Prabhupada says 2 inches. But when Shukdev Goswami spoke 5,000 years ago, these units, inches was not the units. So, what Shukdev Goswami says, 2 fingers. The 2 fingers. The Prabhupada has made it easier for an English-speaking audience by saying 2 inches. But the rope always fell short by 2 fingers. So, if you see the distance between 2 fingers is approximately 2 inches. So therefore, Prabhupada says that it's 2 inches. But Shukdev Goswami said 2 fingers. And our Acharyas such as Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur have said that these 2 fingers indicate something. And we might have heard this often, that 1 finger short indicates that our efforts are lacking. The 2nd finger short indicates that Krishna's mercy is lacking. When these 2 fingers are completed, at that point of time, Krishna becomes bound up in our heart and Krishna accepts us in his life. So Mother Yashoda also 2 fingers were short when she tried to bind him. Every time 2 fingers, the rope is short. Sri Harisuri says, obviously, first before we look into the reason, we have to understand why Mother Yashoda tied him up to the mortar. So he says, I am Chauras Chaura Karmanyetat Sahaya Bhagabu Idi Viksha Dvayor Bandhar Hatam Tatra Babandhatam. Mother Yashoda, Harisuri says, she was thinking one is directly a thief. Krishna is himself the thief, and the other is a direct accomplice of the thief. The mortar is his accomplice because he was giving it to the monkeys standing on the mortar. So both of these are actually thieves. Therefore, these 2 should be tied to each other. Therefore, Mother Yashoda tied Krishna to the mortar. So this is the reason why, amongst all the objects, Mother Yashoda tied Krishna only to the mortar. Very sweet realizations. These devotees, they have such realizations. And it's our duty in every generation, we should also meditate on Krishna Lila, and we should also write our realizations. It's very important. Prabhupada said, my disciples and grand disciples should write realizations on my purports, should write realizations on my translations. Otherwise, we say it's a Krishna conscious movement, Hare Krishna movement. But if there is no movement, then it will become Hare Krishna stagnant after a few generations. Dear devotees, let's not make it Hare Krishna stagnant. You have to keep it Hare Krishna movement, which means in every generation, devotees should relish the pastimes, devotees should write new realizations based on the realizations of the previous acharyas. That's how things are ever fresh in the spiritual world. That's how things are kept fresh. If every day, if I tell Yashoda Prabhu, today I will order butterscotch ice cream for you. And as soon as butterscotch ice cream is finished, I'll order another butterscotch ice cream for you. And this can go on for as long as you want, but only the flavor will not change. Every time, every day, I'm going to order one butterscotch ice cream, one family pack ice cream for you. So Yashoda Prabhu will say, that's okay, that's fine, but can we change the flavor sometimes? No, you have to relish the same ice cream every day for the rest of your life. So Yashoda Prabhu will say, well, no. After some time, he will say, no, I will not. Give me something new. So similarly, in the spiritual world, we have to have newer and newer realizations. New realizations. Then it's so tasty, it's so flavorable, it's so enjoyable. Now we want to dive in the ocean of Krishna. Unlimited realizations here, devotees. In this Kartik month, I've taken a pledge. On my Facebook page, at least, I'll try to post as many new realizations as possible from various previous acharyas, especially pertaining to Krishna Lila. So we have to show that Krishna Lila is fresh and new, ever fresh. Let's moving ahead. See, Sri Hari Suri says, all right, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says 2 fingers short because 1 finger is effort, 1 finger is Krishna's mercy. But there's another reason. Please hear carefully. There's another reason why the rope is falling short. The rope is not able to bind Krishna. What is the reason? Sri Hari Suri says, Yasmin Kripanu Grahavikshanam Vibhur Avatyasau Vetina Bandha Sambhavam Yuktam Tadata Dharina Tatekshatam Muktam Swayam Damana Bandha Bhagavatam. Sweet verses, Hari Suri says, Yasmin Kripanu Grahavikshanam Vibhur. I want to ask a question. Let me ask my dear friend Yashoda Prabhu. Prabhuji, if Krishna looks once at you, if Krishna appears once in front of you and looks once at you today, Prabhu, will you remain an entity who's bound in this world or will you become liberated? Please tell me.
I will become liberated.
Immediately, yes. So Hari Suri says, this is what will happen. Bhavati asau vyakti na bandha sambhavam. That entity upon whom Krishna looks will never remain bound in this world. So Hari Suri says, so why are you surprised? Just see the painting. Yashoda Prabhu, Krishna is looking at the rope in the painting. And as soon as Krishna looked at the rope became liberated. And how can a liberated entity put others into bondage? Yashoda Prabhu, it's not possible that a liberated entity will ever be able to put others into bondage. For this reason, the rope was not able to tie Krishna up so easily. So this is the reason. When the Supreme Lord gazes upon anyone with his all merciful glance, that person no longer knows any bandhana or bondage. It is therefore justified that when he glanced upon the rope which was trying to bind him, that very rope got liberated and could no longer perform the function of her. Therefore, dear devotees, even Satyavrat Muni says in the last verse of Damodara Ashtaka, Namastestu Damne, obeisances to the rope. Why obeisances to the rope? Because that rope is liberated, dear devotees. And even after being liberated, that rope ended up binding Krishna. Try to understand. A liberated entity puts somebody into bondage. But that putting that into bondage is very important. Because Hari Suri will say, by this bondage of Krishna, 2 trees will get liberated. And those 2 trees are Yamal Arjuna trees. In order to liberate 2 entities, Krishna has to accept bondage. And that is why Krishna is accepting here. This is one of the reasons why Krishna is accepting getting bound by the rope. Anyways, Prabhupada said that, Bhagavan finally surrendered to Mother Yashoda. Prabhupada said, then Lord Krishna appreciated the hard labor of his mother and being compassionate upon her, he agreed to be bound up by the ropes. It's very sweet pastime. Krishna agreed to be bound. Sri Hari Suri says, Laghumapi mad bhakta gunam harta sthitito nayami purna padam vanayan eva mananto ninne purnatvam etadalpam. Hari Suri is playing on a word, gunam. Gunam, the word guna means two things, robe and good qualities. Please note, the word guna means two things, robe and good qualities. So, Harishuri says, Krishna was thinking, Laghum api mad bhakta gunam. My devotees' gunas. One meaning is my devotees' robe. Another meaning is my devotees' good qualities. Even if they are falling short, but since he is dear to me, I will complete his gunas. I will complete his robes. I will complete his good qualities. Therefore, in order to show this, Krishna completed the two fingers that were short. So, this is the translation. Even though my devotee may be lacking in gunas, qualities, but due to being dear to me, I myself complete his incomplete gunas. As if indicating this fact, the Supreme Lord himself arranged the completion of Mother Yashoda's gunas. Here, gunas means robes. So, he's playing on the term guna. Very sweet realization. Finally, dear devotees, the Acharyas say all glories to Mother Yashoda, all glories to her. Yashodaya samanasti devata chapi putale. Ulu khale yaya batho mukti do mukti nichhati. Yashodaya samanasti devata. There is no deity on earth equal to Mother Yashoda. Please note, between Yashoda and Damodara, who is superior? We have a clear answer. That is Yashoda. Why? Ulu khale yaya batho. Bound to her, bound by her to a mortar. Mukti do. He is the great giver of liberation. His name is Mukunda, who gives liberation. But Mukti Michhati, he himself is praying with folded hands for his own liberation now. So even Krishna is praying for his own liberation to some deity. Which deity is that? That deity is Yashoda. So it's very obvious that the supreme deity in the universe is hence proved to be Mother Yashoda herself. So from today onwards, when we show a lamb, we should pay special attention to Mother Yashoda, and we should especially pray to her because she is the liberator of that personality who gives liberation to everyone. Then Prabhupada describes, although child Krishna was bound up to the wooden mortar, he began to proceed towards the twin trees in order to fulfill the prophecy of his great devotee Narada. Lord Krishna knew that Narada was his great devotee and that the trees standing before him as twin Arjuna trees were actually the sons of Kuvel. I must now fulfill the words of my great devotee Narada, he thought. Then he proceeded through the passage between the two trees. Although he was able to pass through the passage, the large wooden mortar stuck horizontally between the trees. Taking advantage of this, with great strength, Lord Krishna began to pull the rope which was tied to the mortar. As soon as he pulled, the two trees, with all their branches and limbs, fell down immediately with a great sound. So this is a short description of the liberation of the two trees, Yamal Arjuna trees. And this is what is described by Srila Prabhupada. Sri Harisuri's guru, he asks at this point of time that these two trees have been liberated, but in this entire pastime of Damodara Lila, who was the most merciful entity towards these two trees, who bestowed the highest mercy towards these two trees. Some people may say Narad Muni bestowed the highest mercy because he is the one who cursed them. Some others may say Krishna bestowed the highest mercy because he is the one who liberated them. Some others may say the mortar bestowed the highest mercy because it was the immediate instrument of liberation. But Sri Harisuri's Guru has a completely different answer. He says, look in the background, there is a lady there, her name is Yashoda, and she is the most merciful towards these two trees. And what is the reason? He composes a beautiful verse. Upakritam yamalarjuna yordhruvam sitatayu janushaiva yashodayam vidita bandhana pida ivarshatau muni vinigrahato yadamumuchat. He says, let anyone say that Krishna showed mercy on the two Arjuna trees, but I say that the actual mercy on them was bestowed by Mother Yashoda. How is it so? She is very far away. Only when she bound up the Supreme Lord did he understand what the pain of bondage is. For the first time, Krishna understood what it is to get bound up in the material world. And only then he quickly proceeded to release both trees from their bondage or their curse of Narada. So Krishna liberated them only after he understood what is the pain of getting bound up in this world. So it was actually Mother Yashoda who has bestowed the highest favor upon these two trees. But when there was a loud noise, everyone came running there, and Nanda Maharaj also came running there. Prabhupada describes, this is the final section of the class. Prabhupada says, some of the cowherd men, however, told Nanda Maharaj, your child is different from all other children. He just might have died. Nanda Maharaj smiled to hear about the extraordinary abilities of his son. He came forward and untied the knot just to free his wonderful child. Dear devotees, please note, the child was tied by his mother, but the child was liberated by his father. At this point of time, I would like to conclude, but in this concluding section, I would like to offer a verse of my own composition. Because I said in the class that we should keep the flow going in every generation. We should compose something in every generation. This is a small attempt to compose something for the pleasure of all the Vaishnavas. So I tried to compose a verse on this particular point, and this verse is dedicated to Bhagavan Shri Krishna, who has been liberated by Nanda Maharaj. So this is the final prayer. Mata yadyapi bandhanam prakurute tanmochayedyo pita सोस्त्यत्यंत कृपालुरच्युत तवै तद्लीलया दर्शिता बद्धोऽस्मि तु मायया भववने मात्रा मम त्वं पिता सीत्या लक्ष्यविमोक्षयिष्यसि कदा स्वप्रेमदानेन माम्. Dear Krishna, Mata yatyapi bandhanam prakurute, even though somebody's mother may tie him up, tanmochayet, but there is somebody who comes to liberate him. Who is that? Yo pita, the father comes to liberate him. Sostyatyanta kripalu, that father is truly merciful. Achyuta, O Krishna. Tavai talilaya darshita. In this pastime you showed that even if a mother ties up someone, the father is most merciful and he will liberate the son. Now Krishna, please note this thing. I am also tied in this forest of material world by my mother. My mother is Maya Devi, who created this body out of the three modes of material nature. So I am also tied in this material world by my mother Maya. But if my mother is Maya, then who is my father? Mama Tvam Pita. Actually, you are my father. Sitya Laksha, you know this. No moksha yishyasi kada. So when are you coming to liberate me from this world? Swapremadan namam. And I don't just want liberation. Swapremadan, give me your love. And that is the liberation that I want from this world. Thank you very much, dear devotees, for kindly inviting me to speak 2 sessions on Sri Damodara Lila. At the end, as I said, I'd like to conclude with Srila Prabhupada's statement. Beginning with Prabhupada's statement, ends with Prabhupada's statement. In the middle, it was filled with Prabhupada's statements from the Krishna books. It was all Prabhupada Katha interspersed with the previous acharyas. Prabhupada says, there are many regulative principles in the Shastras and directions given by the spiritual master. These regulative principles should act as servants of the basic principle. That is, one should always remember Krishna and one should never forget. Thank you so much, dear devotees. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Parshad Prabhu. That was incredible. I almost feel like we should just bask in the sweetness and the depth of Damodara Lila and just end here. But there are a couple of questions if you have time and if Anand Bihari Prabhu would allow. He's our host.
I have time, but I don't know.
Okay, well, so one question, that's a brief one from Emily, and then the other one is yesterday's question from Venkata Bhatta Prabhu. He texted it to me before he had to log off 10 minutes ago for work. So Emily's question is, where where in Gopal Champu is that song found, which you mentioned yesterday, that Mother Yashoda was singing while churning the milk?
Very nice. So in Gopal Champu, there are two sections. One is called as Purva and one is called as Uttara, which Purva is the first half, Uttara is the latter half. So in the Purva section of Gopal Champu, in the first half of Gopal Champu, there is the ninth chapter. Ninth chapter is about this Damodar Lila. And in this ninth chapter, there is a description of Krishna's pastimes with Mother Yashoda. And this entire Damodar Lila is described. Sorry, not ninth chapter, eighth chapter. I'm sorry, eighth chapter is the pastime is described. I will show you the song, and that song begins with Gokula Patikula Tilakam Tvamasiha. So this is the song. Ganam Yatha. Gana means song. So what is the song? Jiva Goswami Jayanti is the song. Gokula Patikula Tilakam Tvamasiha. Krita Sukrita Vraja Rachita Sukha Vraja Nayananandi Samiha Anandodbhava Janma Mahotsava Nandita Gopa Samaja Utanikamriti Navamangala Kriti Valayita Gopularaja. Then again sing. Gokula Patikula Tilakam Tvamasiha. Like if we know how to sing the songs, then she was sharing like this. So sometimes when we did it in 3 sessions, I used to sing the entire song. So, but we had some time restriction this time. But maybe some other time, when we do it in great detail, I'll bring some other realizations from other acharyas. We'll do a fresh Damodar Lila without touching these realizations. We'll do fresh Damodar Lila with completely new realizations. It will be very nice. But this is the song. Correct.
I'm thinking, we'll look at the calendar, but we should have you back for Damodar Lila in Kartik and advertise it as Damodar Lila as you've never heard it before. Yes. So the other question from Venkat Bhatta Prabhu from yesterday is, I need to read it. You mentioned that the Urja Vrat can be positive, which is to add some spiritual practices, or negative, which is to give up or abstain from some things. So Venkata's question is on the nature of this negative Vrat. He's seen some devotees take the approach of giving up something that is dear to them, and they give it up as a way of austerity or sacrificing for Krishna. But the actual thing they're giving up is not bad in itself. For instance, they might eat only once a day instead of 2 or 3 times a day, or they give up a particular type of food or sweets, etc. But other devotees take the approach that Kartik Vrata is a time to give up some unwanted habits that the devotee may have and wants to be free from. For instance, watching TV or drinking tea or coffee or eating out in restaurants, etc. Are either of these two approaches acceptable according to the traditional understanding of Urja Vrat? And what does it mean to give up something for Krishna?
Okay, what does it mean to give up something? Either of these understand. Some devotees give up something which they like. Right. Some things they like to eat or something. Yes, that is very, very nice to give up something which we like to eat. And why do we give up? It said, Krishna se arthe bhogasya tyaga. Rupa Goswami's words in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. For Krishna, giving up something that we like. I don't know if somebody has seen this. I saw a video recently. It was, many people have these Facebook videos. And somebody had this short Facebook video of, he had his wife who was undergoing a cancer treatment. And, once you undergo cancer treatment, you have to shave her head. So he was shaving her head. And as he was shaving her head, he also ended up shaving his head. So I saw, sometimes you might be. So I saw this video. So there's no need for him to shave his head. But why did he do that? Because in order to bring pleasure to her, he is removing something from his life which is dear to me. So that sacrifice is love. So love is sometimes indicated by sacrifice. And this is the spirit in which one sacrifices for Krishna. That's very personal, and that's a very personal level of love to show, to sacrifice something for our near and dear ones. So this is the reason why sometimes we sacrifice something which is dear for us. And it can also be sacrificing some habit. For example, somebody may be having a habit that he plays some video game, let's say, and he says in Kartik Mas, I will give this habit up. Then he gives up that habit. So that is also a sacrifice, but that's not related to direct eating food or something like that. But it's also very nice to sacrifice something like that. Basically, to cut an attachment for Krishna. The point of the entire thing is to cut some attachment for Krishna. That is what Krishna appreciates. That this person is taking some pain in order to give me satisfaction. And this is something which people rarely do nowadays. It's not easy to find people like that. Because today's definition is, I'll give you pleasure if it comes at the cost of my pleasure. That is the standard definition of pleasure nowadays. That if it is mutual pleasure for both of us, then then all good. But that pleasure, that which is pleasure for others, but which may be slightly painful for us, that is very much appreciated by Krishna. So that is, both these things are appreciated. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hari Parshad Prabhu. Anyone else have any quick related question or comment?
Hare Krishna. Could I ask a quick follow-up to the answer?
Yes.
Haribol, thank you so much again for such a wonderful session. It's interesting because you had mentioned that when we give up an attachment on us or an austerity for the pleasure of the Lord, Krishna relishes in that. But from the perspective of Krishna, who is God, who is so supremely loving and merciful, why would he take any pleasure in seeing his children suffer or want to give up something they like? And if you can apply it to your own, say, experience, I don't have children, but say you love your son or daughter so much and they give up, say, their favorite toy. It means nothing to you. You don't have any care for that toy, but that toy brings some happiness or, I can use say, temporary pleasure to the child. So why would God even relish any bit in seeing their children or his children or loved ones give up something that isn't sinful or bad?
Thank you. This is a very, very important question. Does God take pleasure in our sufferings? And why would God want to take pleasure in us giving up things that have very little or no meaning for him? And you supplemented your question with a good analogy that I have a child. Suppose he gives up something, he gives up a toy, and that toy has very little or no value for me. So why would I be happy? So this question is very important. See, it's not simply giving up something. It's giving up something for the purpose of diverting that time and attention towards Krishna. That's the main thing. It's not that I just gave up and in that free spot or in that free time, I took up some new addiction. It's not that. I gave it up, and in that time which was saved, I diverted that time towards Krishna. So let me give an example. Let's say that, let's say my child grows up and he goes to college, and I rarely get to see him. And now he has his college vacations and he wants to go and spend it with his friends. But then suddenly one day he comes and knocks on the door and says, it was vacation. I decided to first spend a week with you and then go with my friends. So I sacrificed a week of my vacation so that I could spend it with you. Now that's sacrifice. That's love. So my pleasure is not in that he gave his vacation up. He gave up a week. That's not my pleasure. My pleasure is he gave it up for spending time with me. He gave it up for being with me, for being in contact with me. So that part of the sacrifice brings pleasure to Krishna. So we give up eating some sweet. We give up some attachment. So we don't have to bring it from the market. We don't have to spend time eating it. Whatever time is saved, we give that time, that energy those resources we give to Krishna. That is what brings pleasure. So that's the basic principle behind the sacrifice. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your wonderful questions always. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. We will conclude today. Tomorrow is a speaker who has not appeared on this channel before, Arjuna Sakha Prabhu. He is the younger brother of Amarendra Prabhu, and Arjuna Sakha is actually on the West Coast. So he's going to be dialing in at 4:15 a.m. his time. And he's a wonderful speaker, just like his brother, Amarendra Prabhu. He's also a disciple of Srila Radha Govinda Maharaj, like our Hari Parshad Prabhu, and very learned and very nice speaker. So please come and join and spread the word. Every day, 7:15 a.m. New York time. Thank you very much. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Hari Parshad Prabhu ki jai, Nitai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.